When was the guillotine first used in the world? April 25 marks the anniversary of the first documented execution by guillotine in history. In 1792, the first sentence was carried out on a Frenchman, who was convicted of stealing an amount equivalent to £800. Here are some glimpses of its unknown history. Historical origins of the guillotine. The name, guillotine, dates back to the 18th century and the French Revolution, but similar execution machines have existed for centuries. A head-cutting device called the wooden plank was used in Germany and Flanders during the Middle Ages, and the English had a sliding axe called the Halifax gibbet. The French guillotine may have been inspired by two earlier mechanisms, the Italian manille of the Renaissance and the infamous Scottish maiden, which claimed the lives of about 120 people between the 16th and 18th centuries. Evidence also suggests that the primitive guillotine may have been used in France long before the days of the French Revolution. The origins of the French guillotine date back to late 1789, when Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotin proposed that the French government adopt a more humane method of execution. Although he personally opposed the death penalty, Guillotin argued that beheading by a quick machine would be more humane than beheading by sword or axe, which often failed. Guillotin later assisted in supervising the development of the first prototype, a mechanical device designed by the French physician Antoine Louis and built by a German named Tobias Schmidt. Since its first use, there have been speculations about whether the heads cut by the guillotine remain conscious after the sentence is carried out. The controversy reached new levels in 1793, when the assistant executioner slapped one of his victims in the face and spectators claimed to see his cheeks flushed with anger. Doctors later asked the condemned to try to wink or leave one eye open after execution to prove that they were no longer conscious. The origins of the French guillotine date back to the late 1789, when Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotin proposed that the French government adopt a more humane method of execution. Although personally opposed to the death penalty, Guillotin argued that beheading by a fast machine would be more humane than beheading by sword and axe, which were often botched. Guillotin later helped oversee the development of the first prototype, a forceps-like machine designed by French physician Antoine Louis and built by a German named Tobias Schmidt. Since its inception, there has been much speculation about whether the heads severed by the guillotine remain conscious after the sentence is carried out. The controversy reached new levels in 1793 when the assistant executioner slapped one of his victims and spectators claimed to see his cheeks flush with anger. Doctors later requested that the condemned attempt to wink or leave one eye open after execution to prove that they were no longer conscious. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this claim. During the 19th century, the game of guillotine, a 2-foot-tall replica of the real thing, was a popular game in France. Children used the functioning blades to chop off the heads of dolls or even small rodents, and some towns eventually banned it out of fear that it could have a brutal influence. The new toy also found its way onto some upper-class dinner tables, where it was used as a bread and vegetable slicer. In the mid-19th century, thousands of enemies of the French Revolution met their end by the guillotine blade. Some initially complained that the machine was too fast, but soon the process developed into entertainment. People came in large numbers to the Revolution Square to watch the guillotine in action, and the machine was honored in countless songs, jokes, and poems. Viewers could buy souvenirs and read a publication that included the names of the victims, or even grab a quick meal near the execution site. The guillotine remained the French state's preferred method of execution until the late 20th century. The convicted killer Hamida Janoubi was the last person to meet his end by the guillotine in 1977, and the era of the machine officially ended in September 1981.